A father's journey. I'm an old man now. My hair is white and my hands tremble with age. Every day I sit by the window, watching the trees outside. The wind sways the leaves gently, and memories flood my mind like waves. Some bring a smile to my face, while others bring tears to my eyes. I had a wife once. Her name was Evelyn. She was kind, beautiful, and her warm smile brightened every moment of my life. We had 3 children, 2 sons and a daughter. I worked tirelessly every day to provide them with a life I never had. Evelyn took care of the home, cooked delicious meals, and helped the children with their studies. Our house was filled with laughter and love. As the years passed, our children grew up. They went to school, made friends, and spent less time with us. I understood they needed to explore the world, but their absence left an ache in my heart. Evelyn always reassured me, saying, "They will come back. They love us." I believed her. Then one day, Evelyn fell ill. She stayed in bed for weeks, her strength fading with each passing day. I cared for her, cooking her meals and sitting by her side, telling her stories to make her laugh. But she was too weak. One evening she held my hand and whispered, "Take care of the children, Henry. They still need you." That night she closed her eyes and never opened them again. My heart shattered. The house became silent and lonely. I hoped my children would stay with me to help fill the void, but their lives were busy. They visited less and less. One day, they sat with me and said, "You can't stay alone, Dad. It's better for you to live in a home for the elderly." I wanted to protest, but I saw no other choice. My heart heavy, I nodded and went with them. Now, I live in a place called Silver Meadows Retirement Home. It is clean and quiet, with other elderly residents who mostly keep to themselves. The nurses are kind but always busy. They bring meals, administer medicine, and occasionally offer a kind smile. Every morning, I wake early to watch the sunrise. The colors paint the sky, and for a brief moment, I feel peace. But as the day unfolds, the emptiness returns. I think of Evelyn often, her laughter, her soft touch. I think of my children, wondering where they are and if they're happy. I remember carrying them on my shoulders, playing in the park, teaching them to ride their bikes, and helping with homework. My hands were tired back then, but my heart was full. They were my pride and joy. Now they're distant. They call occasionally, hurriedly asking, "How are you, Dad?" before rushing off. One day, a nurse handed me a notebook. "Write your memories," she suggested. "It might help." At first, I hesitated. My hands shook as I held the pen, but then the words began to flow. I wrote about Evelyn, her voice, her laughter. I wrote about my children, their first steps, their smiles. The notebook became my confidant. Each night, I poured my heart onto its pages, hoping my children might one day read it and understand how much I loved them. One afternoon, a young boy named Jamie visited the home. He was the son of one of the nurses. He smiled brightly and said, "Hi, Grandpa." His cheerful demeanor reminded me of my youngest son when he was little. Jamie sat beside me and asked, "Do you have any stories?" I nodded and began recounting tales of my childhood. I told him about growing up in a small village with green fields and a sparkling river. As I spoke, Jamie's eyes lit up with wonder. For a moment I felt alive again, sharing my memories with someone who cared to listen. That evening, I decided to call my eldest son, Michael. With trembling hands, I dialed his number. He answered after a few rings. "Hello, Dad," he said, his tone distant. "I miss you," I said softly. "I'd love to see you." He promised to visit soon, but his words felt hollow. The days dragged on. The nurse suggested I write letters to my children. I poured my heart into each one. To Michael, I wrote about the times I held his hand and taught him to ride a bike. To my daughter, Lily, I wrote about her love of singing and how proud I was of her. To my youngest son, Ethan, I reminisced about our fishing trips and his infectious laughter. The nurse mailed the letters for me, and I waited, hoping they would stir something in my children's hearts. Weeks passed with no response. Then one morning, the nurse brought me an envelope. It was from Michael. My hands trembled as I opened it. He apologized for his absence and promised to visit soon with his children. For the first time in months, hope flickered within me. Days turned into weeks. One morning, I heard unfamiliar footsteps in the hallway. My heart raced as the door opened. Michael stood there, holding the hands of two small children. "Daddy," he said softly, "I'm here." Tears welled in my eyes as I embraced him. His children, Emily and Noah, smiled shyly and handed me drawings they'd made. "This is for you, Grandpa," Noah said proudly. The room, once filled with silence, now buzzed with life. We talked for hours, sharing stories and laughter. In the following weeks, Lily visited too, bringing warmth and love back into my life. She apologized for staying away and promised to visit often. Ethan came as well, sharing stories of his own family. Slowly, the emptiness that had consumed me began to fade. My children and grandchildren became regular visitors, filling my days with joy and meaning. Jamie continued to visit, bringing his cheerful drawings and stories. "You look happier now," he remarked one day. I smiled and nodded. "Yes, I am." As I sit in the garden now, surrounded by my children and grandchildren, I think of Evelyn. Her love had been the foundation of our family, and even in her absence, she had guided me to hold on. Life is not about how much you give, but the moments you share with those you love. And in these moments, I have found peace.